good old comforting, heartwarming winter warmer. It's a chicken pie.
And it's not just any chicken pie, it's a chicken, ham and leek pie, and it's absolutely banging. So firstly we're going to cook our chicken, then we're going to go in with the leek, carrots, onion and celery. Cook until soft, and then we go in with the garlic, rosemary, chicken stock, milk, oregano, smoked paprika, cloves, Baileys and some Worcester sauce, and then finally some ham. That is basically it for the pie filling. We're going to do a couple more bits, but whilst that is cooking down we can sort out our mashed potato topping, which is very simple. Just basically mash your potatoes, some chives, milk and butter, lots of salt and pepper. Then back over to the pie filling, some corn flour just to thicken things up, and then some peas just before we transfer to a baking tray. Flatten it all out, and then we're going to add our potato topping, and of course a load of cheese on top. That's going to come out the oven bubbling. It's going to fill your kitchen with smells that are comforting and warming, and that's exactly what we need on these winter nights. The full recipe is on our website, check it out.
Oh, I'm just warm here.
I'm gonna show you how you can make real authentic goulash. It all starts with frying a diced onion, diced paprika, diced tomatoes, then start adding paprika powder, pepper, dried chicken broth, caraway seeds, and the magical vegetal. Dice up 2 pork shoulder chops, fry them in a cast iron pan until they're golden brown. Add it to the goulash, add carrots, add parsnip, add water, let simmer for 2 hours. After 1 hour, add potatoes, and this is gonna make it real authentical. This is homemade pinched noodles. Add celery, add parsley, and that's an authentical goulash.
It's my 3rd time this week having these spicy garlic chili oil noodles. They're just so good and they only take 10 minutes to make. Start off by adding some Nutri-Oil, sesame oil, and butter to a pan and getting it really hot. Then in a bowl, you're going to combine some green onion with garlic, chili flakes, chili powder, Parmesan, soy sauce, a little bit of brown sugar, and salt to taste. Add the hot oil over that so it's sizzling, mix together, and then pour that on top of your knife-cut noodles, which have been boiled to perfection. Now we just toss that all together, add more red pepper flakes and green onion, and enjoy! If there's one recipe that you make this week, it has to be these Parmesan crusted roasted potatoes. Just listen to how crispy they turn out. So I think we get the point. They're pretty life-changing and super easy to make. Start out by melting down some butter and combining it with olive oil, garlic, parsley, Parmesan, red pepper flakes, salt, black pepper, and oregano. Now we take our baby gold potatoes that have been rinsed, cut them in half, and toss them in that garlic and herb butter sauce. Transfer to a tray, and then you're going to dip each potato on this side in Parmesan and cover it completely. Then in the oven they go to roast at 400 degrees Fahrenheit until they're beautifully golden and crispy on the bottom, just like this. Now all that's left to do is enjoy.
Let's make Turkish eggs, otherwise known as çilba. Please forgive my American pronunciation. First, we're gonna make the Aleppo butter. Super easy. All you have to do is melt 4 tablespoons of butter in a pan, add 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and a little over 1 tablespoon of Aleppo pepper. Get that nice and foamy, then take it off the heat and let it steep. Next, let's make the garlicky yogurt. I decided to add some herbs to mine as well, so it's a few cloves of garlic, and then I added mint, flat leaf parsley, and dill. Make sure to season with salt, of course, and then I added some lemon juice at the end to really brighten it up. Now cut some crusty bread. I wrapped mine in tin foil and popped in the oven for a little bit just to get it all warm and toasty again. Poach some eggs, don't forget to drain them and pat them dry, and now we're going to assemble. Just dollop and smear your yogurt, add some poached eggs, and drizzle all over with the Aleppo butter. Finish with some flaky salt, some fresh cracked black pepper, and some fresh herbs, and you're done. Full video and instructions on how to make this is on my YouTube channel. Link in bio. Enjoy!
Moussaka is one of my favourite dishes in the whole world. It is a labour of love to make, but it is so worth it, so today I'm going to show you how I make mine. First thing I do is make the meat sauce, then that's out the way and you've got one layer done and dusted. So we're just going to fry off some onion and garlic, and a lot of recipes do use lamb, but I personally prefer beef. So we're going to brown that off and then stir in some tomato paste or some tomato puree, and then we're going to add a good glug of red wine to really deepen the flavour. Allow the beef to soak in that goodness, and then we're going to make the base of the sauce, which is beef stock and tomato passata, which is just pureed strained tomatoes. Then to pack in the flavour, we're going to add some fresh parsley and thyme, and then some cinnamon, salt, pepper and sugar. In with a couple of small bay leaves, and then we're going to simmer that until it's nice and thick, and it's really important to thicken it so you get those nice, distinctive, classic moussaka layers. Meat sauce out the way, and the next layer is the veg layer, and this is the easiest way to prep it. Add some sliced aubergine or eggplant to a layer of paper towel, and then we're going to salt both sides. This takes out that bitter edge and it also helps remove the moisture. Then the next layer is zucchini or courgette. We don't want to salt that, but we are going to remove the moisture, and then some potato on top of that and remove the moisture too. Then we're going to shallow fry the potatoes until they're golden and soft through the center, and then crank up the heat a little bit and fry off the zucchini and the eggplant. Then really important to add it all back onto paper towels to remove the excess oil. Then the third and final layer is the bechamel sauce, and again you want this really nice and thick so you get a nice distinctive layer on top. So we're going to melt in some butter and then stir in some flour and whisk in some milk until it's fully smooth. Then season with some salt, nutmeg and white pepper. Then most hard cheeses work nicely in this. I use pecorino, but you can use kefalotyri, I hope I said that right, if you can get your hands on it. Then a key ingredient to this is adding a couple of egg yolks. This will add a really gentle richness, but it also helps thicken the layer as it bakes. Then a nifty little trick is to scoop some of that out and add it to your meat sauce, and that helps bind everything together. Then finally we're going to stack the moussaka, and here's how I like mine. The first layer we're going with potato because it gives you a nice sturdy base and all the flavours trickle down and get soaked up by the potato. We're going to season each layer with salt, pepper, pecorino and parsley. Then next up we've got our zucchini or courgette, and then we're going to go with half of your eggplant or aubergine. You want it really nice and compact so there's no gaps. Then we're going to add our meat sauce and the second half of your eggplant or aubergine. Then last but not least we're going to slather over that gorgeous thick rich bechamel sauce. Finish with a bit more cheese, and then we're going to bake that in the oven until it's bubbly and beautifully golden on top. Then it's really important to let it rest for a little bit just so those layers really solidify. There's nothing worse than a sloppy moussaka that all kind of blends together in one thing. Then you're going to slice it up into individual portions, and there you have my take on the classic moussaka. I do hope I did this justice, so let me know how I got on in the comments, and if you fancy giving this a go, you'll find a full written recipe up on the blog at Dogo Baking My Heart, and the link in my profile will take you there. Like I said, this is absolutely a labour of love, but it's so worth it. Enjoy!
Pad see ew has got to be one of my favorite Thai noodle dishes. The chewy rice noodles paired with that umami packed sauce is such an amazing combo. Marinate your chicken with some salt, white pepper, soy sauce, and a touch of oil, then premix your sauce together. For veggies, we're using gailan or Chinese broccoli, separating the leaves and stalks and having the thicker stalks. Next, separate your rice rolls and set aside. Fry some garlic for 15 seconds and then sear your chicken until about 75% cooked through. Then add your stalks and cook for a minute. Next, add your remaining leaves and cook until just wilted. Push everything aside and crack in 1 egg, cook and mix through and set it all aside. Next, over high heat, add your rice rolls and immediately your sauce, gently cooking your noodles for a minute so the sauce is combined and caramelized. Add it all back, toss to combine, and enjoy.
If you're looking for the perfect addition to your summertime grilling or meal prep rotation, you've got to give these koftas a try. They're absolutely delicious. Start by pulsing together red onion, lots of garlic, pistachios, and fresh parsley in a food processor. Add it to a bowl with ground beef and season with salt, paprika, cumin, and sumac. Give it a really good mix, let it sit, and then you can shape them into patties or logs before you grill them, or even cook them in a pan if you don't have a grill. To elevate these to the max, I serve them with a cucumber dill yogurt and topped with sumac. Full recipes in the comments. Check it out.
This is my healthiest, easiest hidden veggie chicken soup. Let's go. Add the whole veggies to a pot of water, let it come to a boil, drop in the chicken thighs, skim off any of the foam, and generously season with salt. Semi-cover it and let that go for 45 minutes. Take out the chicken and shred it. Take out the whole veggies, add them to a blender with some of that broth and blend. Add it back into the soup with the shredded chicken. I had leftover boiled potato which I cubed and I'm adding in, but you can use pastina as well. Enjoy and follow for more.
Creamy Tuscan chicken is one of my favorite meals to eat and to make, so let me show you how to make it. I like to start off by butterflying my chicken and then seasoning it with some salt, a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, some paprika, some oregano, and a bit of black pepper as well. I'm just measuring with the heart with this one. From here, I'm just going to heat a pan with some sun-dried tomato oil. This is really what's going to start building those flavors for us. And then just a drizzle of olive oil as well. Once that comes up to heat, we're gonna go ahead and lay down our chicken and sear on both sides. While our chicken's cooking, let's go ahead and prep our veggies. This recipe has really simple ingredients. We're just gonna split some cherry tomatoes in half and then cut 1 whole shallot or a half of an onion, whatever you have on hand, and crush a few cloves of garlic as well. We're also going to need an entire bag of spinach for this recipe, and don't forget to wash your veggies. Once our chicken has nice color on both sides, we're gonna remove that from the pan and toss in our shallots as well as our garlic. Go ahead and let these cook for about 3 to 5 minutes until they get nice and aromatic. For a fun addition, I like to add some mushrooms to this dish. They lend themselves really well to the tomatoes and the wine. Speaking of wine, we're going to deglaze the bottom of our pan with some dry white wine before tossing in our cherry tomatoes, and I like to add some of those chopped sun-dried tomatoes as well. Totally optional, but I like to add in some red pepper flakes at this point, as well as a little bit more oregano before pouring in about 1.5 cups of heavy cream. Go ahead and let this simmer and let all the flavors get to know each other before tossing in your spinach. I made a mistake and put my chicken back into the pan at this point, and as you can see, I took it out. So just toss in your spinach first, let those get to know each other, let the spinach wilt down a little bit, add in some Parmesan cheese, and then we're gonna tuck our chicken back into the sauce. Once you get your chicken nestled back in, we're gonna let this cook for another 5 to 10 minutes, either on the stovetop or in the oven, and let the sauce get nice and thick and creamy. We're gonna squeeze some lemon over top to brighten up the dish, and then serve with some mashed potatoes or polenta or rice, but you cannot skip the crusty bread to soak up all of that sauce. I hope you enjoy. Chicken pot pie is just one of those comforting meals that hits the spot every time, and now it's the perfect weather for it, so let me show you how to make it. Start by frying up 2 pieces of chopped bacon. I like thick cut. While that's crisping up, let's prep our veggies. Chop 1 whole yellow onion, take a Yukon potato and cut that into cubes. I took 2 celery sticks, cut that in half and gave it a chop. 2 carrot sticks, cut those in half and gave that a chop. And then I like to add fennel to this as well. Make sure to remove the core as it can be tough before you chop that up. And then crush however much garlic you like. I'm gonna use 6 cloves. Once your bacon is rendered, remove that from the pot. Into the same pot, we're adding 2 tablespoons of butter before tossing in our onions and our potatoes. Let these sweat out for about 5 minutes before we go ahead and toss in the rest of our veg. The great thing about this dish is you can use whatever veggies you have on hand, so feel free to leave any of these out or add anything else in. But don't forget to salt and pepper at this point before you add in your garlic, and then about 3 tablespoons of any fresh cut herb. Today I'm using thyme, rosemary, and sage. Let this cook down for about 5 minutes and get nice and aromatic. At this point, your house is smelling so good. Then toss in 2 tablespoons of butter, a 1/3 cup of flour, and let the flour cook down and get toasty about 5 minutes. Get yourself a 1/2 cup of good dry white wine and pour this into our veggies. We're looking for the flour and wine to form together to get a little pasty before we pour in 3 cups of chicken stock, a cup of heavy cream, and then a 1/4 cup of milk. Give this a good stir before setting this to medium-low heat, bringing up to a simmer and letting sit for about 15 minutes so it can get nice and thick like so. Once thickened, add in about 3 cups of shredded chicken. I just pulled apart a rotisserie chicken that I grabbed at Whole Foods, but if you have time to roast a whole chicken, more power to you. Don't forget to throw your bacon back in, give this a good stir, and then I'm gonna season this one more time with salt and pepper. I also threw in a little bit of smoked paprika because I throw that into everything, and then a handful of chopped parsley. Last steps are optional but delicious. Let this sit for another 10 minutes on heat before we butter up our cast iron pan. Some people choose to not have a bottom crust. I am not those people, so I'm gonna go ahead and place in my rough puff pastry before loading in my chicken mixture. You want the pie to be really full before we place on the top crust. I like to tuck the crust into the pan so it kind of seals together with the other crust, and then just cut in a couple of venting holes before giving this an egg wash so we get that beautiful golden crust. Bake your pie at 375 degrees for about 50 minutes, and then voila, you have the most beautiful chicken pot pie you have ever seen in your entire life. I just topped this with a little bit of Maldon salt and some extra thyme because home-cooked meals can be fancy too. The filling was so savory and comforting. The crust was perfectly crispy and buttery. I hope you make it and enjoy.